Hey folks, see if you've ever had this problem. You're trying to eat a little healthier, but you're in the grocery store aisle, you're looking at packaging, nutrition labels, and they're so confusing, you don't know what's good for you and what's not. Well, this is why I love Thrive Market, my go-to online grocery store for getting all of my healthy essentials delivered, and I don't even have to leave my couch. Finding better options for the whole family is easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. Just scan a product and it instantly recommends healthier swaps. This is how my wife and I found our new favorite snack, IQ bars. Sometimes I eat one in the morning with my coffee, sometimes just later on in between meals. They also have so many on-site filters that make it simple to shop by the needs of everyone in the family. Maybe you have someone who needs gluten-free food, somebody that has a peanut allergy. Well, no more scouring ingredient labels when you can just filter it all on Thrive Market. My wife and I often use the high protein filter to stock up on things like Sieti chips. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/TCAT for 30% off your first order, plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/TCATT, thrivemarket.com/TCAT. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 352 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing really well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, we got back from Crime Con, had to decompress a little bit. I know you had to jump right back into work, so
Always.
It's tough when we get back because we have a lot to do, but we also need to kind of, rest a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a busy weekend, but it was great.
It was awesome.
We met a lot of great people, some who we've known for a long time, some who we met for the first time.
Love them all.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Robin Bueller.
Hey, Robin.
Tanya Collette.
What's going on, Colette?
Brandy Garcia.
Hey, Brandy.
Addicted to Ferrets.
Well, if you're going to be addicted to something, be addicted to ferrets.
Why not? Christy Kemp.
Hey, Christy.
Celine DeMonte.
Oh, DeMonte.
Lachlan.
What's up, Lachlan?
Amanda Kirby.
Hey, there's Kirby.
Granny Pammy jumped out at her highest level.
Everybody wants some Pammy.
Yeah. Pamela Geary jumped out at her highest level.
What's happening, Pamela?
Did you just say everybody wants some Pammy?
I did.
Okay. All right. Ron Steele.
Hey, Ron.
Susanna Joy.
There's Joy.
Savannah Thomas.
Appreciate that, Savannah.
Kaylin Sarah.
What's going on, Kaylin?
Joycey.
Appreciate that, Joycey.
And last but not least, Laura Andrews.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Melissa Duke.
What up, Duke?
So we appreciate the new Patreon support, the continued support. We also had a couple of PayPal donations, one from Elizabeth Massey.
Hey, Elizabeth.
And Brado Cabrera is shouting out happy birthday, Rue, from Tigger.
Well, happy birthday, Rue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gibbs, right now, we have a lot out. Saturday night, we dropped a new Patreon episode. It's about the murder of 18-year-old Stacy Hannah. And this was a brutal one.
Makes me sick.
It involved kind of a quasi-love triangle and basically some girls who said they were going to try to teach Stacy a lesson. We also have a new episode out on Unsolved, and it's about the disappearance of Brandon Swanson.
Definitely a good one. Go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. He crashed his car into a ditch on his way home from a party, and he was talking to his parents, and the call just kind of ended.
Yeah, what a nightmare for the parents all the way around, but at that moment.
Yeah, so a lot of mystery there. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I am ready.
We are talking about Tia Skinner. In November 2010, Paul Skinner and Maria Skinner were attacked inside their home in Yale, Michigan by two men. Paul died from multiple stab wounds, but Mara survived. The attack was orchestrated by their adopted daughter, Tia Skinner. So we're in for one of these really scary ones, where people are killed by someone that they should be able to trust wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's not the case. And they end up, kind of facilitating their death.
These cases scare me, man.
Yeah, they do. And I think they scare a lot of people. Tia Skinner was born on December 2nd, 1992. She was 1 month away from her 18th birthday when she was arrested. Tia's mother was in prison when she was born. Her mother is Mara's sister, which makes Tia Mara's biological niece. So, that adds an element to it right there.
Sure it does.
Not only did they adopt Tia at a certain point, but they were related to her from the beginning.
Yeah.
Tia lived with her biological father in Detroit for 10 months. She lived in foster care for a couple of weeks before she moved in with her great grandmother. Paul and Mara adopted her when she was 2 years old. They also adopted Tia's brother, Jeffrey.
So really, when you think about it, Tia was with them for 16 years when she was arrested. So basically the only parents she ever really knew.
Yeah, I would say that. But let's talk about them for a minute. How amazing is it to step up and adopt both of these kids, your niece and nephew, and take care of them, take that responsibility on.
It's a big responsibility.
Paul and Mara Skinner were married for 24 years. They raised Tia and her brother Jeff, as well as 2 biological children. The family had been living in Yale, Michigan since 1992. Both Paul and Mara were well liked in their community. Mara had been a teacher for 15 years, and Paul worked as a pipe fitter. I know you've done some pipe fitting.
Not easy work.
Not easy work in your days. Or at least that was one of your various covers. I don't know how many of these jobs you actually worked at or just listed them as a cover for your CIA work.
Yeah. Well, you still had to have some knowledge just in case someone tested you out.
Oh, asked you about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time I would call, they'd be like, he's not here right now.
Yeah.
You were never there.
Exactly.
Family members would later testify that Paul and Mara were loving parents. According to them, Tia and Jeff were not treated differently because they were adopted. No one had any concerns about Tia or had any problems with her throughout her childhood. Mara testified that Tia was healthy, happy, and had no developmental issues.
Which makes it even more shocking.
I think it will make it more shocking, right? As we get into the details of what happened. We're not talking about someone who reportedly had a lot of issues growing up. Sounds like she was in a loving home.
It does sound like that.
And so, the question is going to become what precipitated all of this. At the time of her arrest, Tia was a senior in high school and had plans to attend college at Western Michigan University. She was active in her church, sports, and the school band.
Sounds like a wonderful life.
Well-rounded individual, active in a lot of things. Tia was fairly close with both of her parents. Mara said that Paul was worried Tia would move far away for college and wanted her to stay close to home.
Well, what parent doesn't want that?
Parents who don't like their children. But yeah, most parents don't want that.
Yeah.
I got pretty lucky. Both of my kids are about 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
If I've got a day off, I can pop down there, take them to lunch. They can come home pretty easily. But, you think about someone living on the East Coast and they're really smart and they say, you know what? I got accepted to Stanford.
Right.
I'm going to Stanford. Okay. You can't just pop over to Stanford for lunch.
No.
Unless you got your own private plane or, something like that. Most people can't do it.
And that's what makes it tough for parents, right? To have kids that do that.
Yeah, it's very tough.
I think we all would encourage our kids to go anywhere they want to go.
I wouldn't. No, I never did that.
No, if we could just pop in anytime we want.
I say go close.
But we're
please go
selfish
close.
and we want our kids close to us because we love them.
You're absolutely right. If my daughters would have said, hey, we really wanted to go here.
Yeah.
And they had their heart set on it, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to miss you even more because I won't see you as much, but
But you have fun up there at Alaska University.
Alaska, pour it on. Dr. Carol Holden, a forensic psychologist who met with Tia for her criminal responsibility evaluation in April 2011, said that Tia had a very different childhood and had difficulties with attachment because of disruptions in her early life, but she didn't have an attachment disorder. Okay. Difficulties with attachment. I could see where, some of that maybe came from.
Sure.
She moved around. Now, she was very, very young.
Right.
But did she remember some of that? Did it have some effect on her? And you could see where possibly it did.
Yeah. When you go from your dad to your grandma and then finally to your aunt and uncle.
According to Michigan versus Skinner, in 2009 and 2010, Tia started to get involved with people who could be considered bad influences. Mara testified that these were the only 2 times she questioned her daughter's judgment in choosing friends. And I think, anyone who's listening who's a parent has been there.
Sure.
By and large, I really liked my kids' friends. But every now and then they started hanging out with someone who, I thought this person's maybe doing something they shouldn't be doing, or
a little questionable.
Yeah. Not very often with mine, but I could see where maybe my parents thought that with some of my choices.
Now, what if you don't ever question that? Does that mean your kid's the one that all the other parents are questioning?
Or you're just not paying attention. Yeah. In fall 2010, Tia started dating an 18-year-old named Jonathan Kurtz, who went to the same high school. Kurtz graduated in 2010. Tia and Jonathan only dated for about 2 weeks. Paul and Mara disapproved of this relationship. Mara testified that on October 31st, she and Paul forbade Tia from seeing Jonathan Kurtz. She said, per CBS, we had talked about friends that were in his peer group, and that was something I didn't want her exposed to at all.
It's always tough, though, when you forbade your child from doing something,
As a kid, what was the thing you wanted to do the most? It was something that you told you weren't supposed to do.
Exactly.
Or you weren't allowed to do.
Yeah.
The curiosity factor alone made you want to do it. But I want to talk about, this Jonathan Kurtz guy. It sounds like from what Mara said to CBS, maybe they didn't have as much of a problem with him as they did with some of the people that he hung out with. Now, we'll find out more about Jonathan as we go, but just from that snippet alone, maybe you could draw that conclusion.
Yeah.
Mara said that she took Tia's phone twice to prevent her from communicating with Jonathan because they saw texts from him declaring his love for her. This, of course, caused conflict between Tia and Mara. According to the Times Herald, Mara said things were a little rocky, but she wasn't too concerned.
Again, you're going to have that when you don't agree with what your daughter is doing and you're letting her know that.
Well, I think anytime you take your kid's phone away, there's going to be conflict.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to be happy with you.
No.
I think some kids would rather give up a kidney than have their phone taken away from them. But I think at some point, we're really going to have to get to the bottom of why were they so adamant that they didn't want Tia, seeing this Jonathan Kurtz? Was it more than, the fact that they didn't like some of his friends? Him professing his love for her. What kid at some point hasn't done that?
Yeah, they do that all the time.
The age difference wasn't great.
No, it wasn't that big of a difference.
Now, he technically was 18 and she wasn't.
Yeah.
But, depending on what state you live in, I think there are some clarifications of different rules about that. On November 11th, 2010, Paul got home early from a work trip. That evening, he, Mara, and Tia went shopping for party supplies and went out to dinner. They were supposed to celebrate their other daughter's engagement that weekend. When they got home, they were surprised to see that Jeffrey was waiting for them. He was visiting from his home in Grand Rapids to attend the party. He spoke with his family for about an hour before Tia asked him to watch a movie with her in the basement. Jeff later said that he thought this was a little strange because their parents had just purchased a new TV for the living room, but Tia kept repeatedly asking to watch the movie in the basement. And once they were in the basement, she asked him to help her with a book report. Jeff agreed. He noticed that Tia went upstairs 3 times to get different supplies, but when she returned, she didn't have the items that she went to get. So, you start to think he's getting a vibe that something's strange.
Yeah, something's up.
Something's off here. When Tia returned to the basement for a 3rd time, she told Jeff that something was wrong. Jeff soon realized that his parents had been viciously attacked in their bedroom. Paul and Mara went to bed after 11 p.m. Around midnight on November 12th, 2 young men with bandanas on their faces climbed through Tia's bedroom window on the 1st floor, then walked upstairs to Paul and Mara's bedroom. Paul was stabbed 23 times. Mara was stabbed 26 times. Mara later testified that she was lying in bed next to Paul. She heard him shout, "Hun, hun." She said at the same time, "I felt blunt force to my back and to my neck. I was being attacked and my husband was being attacked. I was screaming. My husband was screaming."
What a nightmare.
Yeah, a lot of the cases we do are nightmares. Some of them for different reasons.
Right.
For me, this one, there's a couple of things. We have a daughter, for all intents and purposes, who is involved, but the thought that you're in your own home, the place, you're supposed to feel secure, and to be attacked in the middle of the night when you're sleeping in your own bed, that is a very, very scary thought. I mean, I don't know about you, Gibbs, but I've woken up before to a sound thinking that someone's in my room.
Yeah, so have I.
And that's a very scary thought. Now, it's always turned out there's no one there. I don't fall asleep right away. I lay there for a little bit. Right. Sometimes I get up and I check things out. But to wake up and, find out that there's 2 men in your room and they're attacking both of you. Okay, very scary. She didn't see the attackers until Paul turned on the light. Mara then saw a knife coming at her chest and she grabbed it. She shouted at the 2 men, "No, you have to go, go, go. Jeff is here right now."
Interesting thing to say, right?
Yeah, I do think it's a very strange statement. You have to go, go, go. Jeff is here right now. Almost as if Jeff wasn't supposed to be there, but he is. I mean, when you just kind of hear it on the surface, you would kind of think that Mara knows something.
Or maybe it's just that mother's intuition.
It's like she doesn't want Jeff to be hurt.
Yeah, maybe she's like, knows somehow that Tia has something to do with it.
Because she doesn't say anything about Tia.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. It is a strange statement, but at the same time, she's being attacked.
Right.
So, who knows what you're going to say in that moment. Paul chased the 2 men out the front door. He went back inside and collapsed on the floor and quickly died from his injury. So obviously he was mortally wounded, but somehow able to get up, chase these guys all the way outside. But that was basically the last bit he had in him.
He's trying to protect his family.
Yeah. Jeff would say that he heard a rumbling noise upstairs. After Tia told him something was wrong, he went upstairs and saw a trail of blood, and then saw Paul enter the house covered in blood. Jeff testified that Paul told him, "They came in and stabbed us," according to the Times Herald. So we kind of talked about the shock of waking up in your bed to find 2 masked men attacking you. Now your son comes upstairs, sees a trail of blood. His dad enters. He's been stabbed. Paul was very seriously wounded.
Right.
We know that because
Sure.
he ultimately dies. But he told Jeff to go check on Mara, who was still in the bedroom. Mara was on the phone with 911. And she told Jeff to go help his dad.
Loving couple,
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
They're each worried about each other. Now, it does sound like, and we know it to be true, Paul was much more seriously wounded than Mara.
Right.
She's able to pick up the phone, call 911, and he's, basically collapses. Eventually, Jeff got on the phone with 911 dispatchers. He told them he was an ER nurse, but he needed help as soon as possible because he couldn't take care of both of his parents by himself. Paul could be heard asking for help in the background. So he's still alive, Paul is,
right,
at the time of this 911 call.
What a tough decision, too.
Who do you help?
Yeah.
Which one of your parents do you help?
How do you do that assessment?
Well, and pretty amazing that, he turns out to be an ER nurse, but to your question, how do you make the assessment of who you're going to help? You love both your parents. Do you help the person who is the most seriously wounded?
Yeah.
Or do you make that really tough decision that no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to save this person, so I'm going to attend to my other parent?
Yeah.
It's a no-win situation.
Right. Where the heck was Tia, though?
Well, it was said that Tia stayed in the basement until the police arrived. According to CBS, Jeff said he called out to Tia, but she said, "I can't come up there. I can't. Okay, what do you make of that? I get it. She's not an ER nurse.
Right.
So she may not have the
know-how,
training, the ability to kind of work through a frantic situation that Jeff has. She's also younger. So we have to keep all of that in mind. But
if you love them, wouldn't you want to be up there just to be there?
Yeah, because how do you know what's going on? And how do you know that you can't come up? How do you even know how bad it is?
Yeah.
It suggests that she actually does know how bad it really is, and that's why she doesn't want to go up. Paul had a fatal stab wound to the chest that severed a major vein and caused his chest cavity to fill with what was described as a half gallon of blood, as reported by the Times Herald.
Wow, that's a lot.
Well, I'm picturing a gallon of milk and half of that jug full of blood pouring into his lung or his chest cavity. I don't know how you survived that. And obviously we know he did. It was said that at first Jeff was a suspect, but Tia, her boyfriend, Jonathan Kurtz, and Kurtz's friend and neighbor, 18-year-old James Preston, were arrested within hours of the attack. So, we talked about this in our Patreon episode this week. This was not a long, drawn-out whodunit investigation.
Pretty quick.
They were arrested within hours. When they were all questioned, all three of them tried to downplay their role in the attack. And that's an interesting word, right? Downplay. You're not saying you weren't involved.
Yeah. You're
just trying to minimize your role.
Maybe they play the old blame game.
Yeah, it could have been that they were pointing the finger at others. All it said was they were trying to downplay their role, but they absolutely could have done that in trying to make that happen. Don't let allergy season slow you down. Get common allergy meds for as little as $15 with GoodRx. So you and your family, pets included, can stop allergy symptoms before they start. GoodRx is free and easy to use. Just search for your prescription on the website or the app, compare prices, and get a free coupon to show your pharmacist. Save at over 70,000 local pharmacies nationwide, including Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Publix, Kroger, and many more. Check GoodRx before every trip to the pharmacy to save up to 80% on both brand and generic medications. And did you know GoodRx rewards you for saving money too? Join GoodRx Rewards today and earn points every time you use a coupon. Remember, GoodRx is not insurance, but works whether you have insurance or not. And it could be your insurance copay price. I've been using GoodRx for years, and I can't tell you how many times I have saved money even with my insurance. Stop allergies before they start and save big on allergy medications this season with GoodRx. Go to goodrx.com/TCAT. That's goodrx.com/TCATT. Once the temps start rising, I realized I was back in the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like their 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30. Luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I'm getting ready to stock up on shorts for summer from Quince, and I know they're going to be amazing because everything I've ordered has been of the highest quality, and the prices are amazing. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/TCAT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TCATT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCAT. Investigators immediately noticed Tia's calm demeanor after the attack. CBS reported that Deputy Jeff Green noticed that Tia was reserved when the police talked to her in the basement and when she was put in a patrol car. He asked her, "Do you know what happened up there?" Tia said, "No, but my brother said it was bad." So, here's a girl not yet 18 years old. Her parents are attacked. Her brother has said it's bad, but yet she's not freaking out at all. I mean, they used the word reserved.
Well, it's pretty bad to say reserve when this was your adopted dad that was just murdered and your mom is hanging on for her life.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents who are hearing this are saying, wow, my kids, throw a fit about something very small. And a lot of kids do. When I say kids, I'm talking about my 18, 20, 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
Something nowhere near as big as this. And they lose it over something. So I think if you're the police and you're watching how this girl is acting, it's causing you to think something's up.
It's a red flag for sure.
Deputy Green found a piece of paper on the ground near the Skinner's fence with a drawing of the neighborhood layout and family names written with their corresponding house. The words "my house" were written in the spot where the Skinner home was drawn on the map. Investigators also found that a side gate was left open and the screen to Tia's bedroom window was cut. A green chair in Tia's room matched a green stool found outside her window. 4 knives were also found in Tia's room. Not looking real great for Tia.
Not at all.
From her demeanor to, kind of all of these things that they have found so far, everything's kind of pointing her way.
Yeah, it looks like she might have planted that stool outside. She might have placed some knives in the room.
Yeah, I'm sure they were curious about those knives. Investigators learned through interviews that Tia had drawn the map of her neighborhood and a diagram of her house with arrows pointing to her parents' bedroom. And maybe I think we're finding out, why this investigation wrapped up so quickly. I mean, this is like a game of Clue, but all the clues are given to you.
Yeah, so
you don't even have to ask any questions.
Yeah.
Hardly. She had promised to pay Jonathan Kurtz and James Preston, recruited by Kurtz, $1,000 for committing the murders. She even wrote them a tip sheet of what they should do during the murders. All right. Can we talk about $1,000?
Man, what is wrong with these kids?
Now, we say it all the time. No amount of money should cause you to kill somebody. But I don't know if I would clean your house, Gibbs, for $1,000.
And my house is so clean.
It wasn't on that episode of Hoarders I saw. But, in all seriousness, $1,000.
Yeah.
That is so little money. Now, I get it. To an 18-year-old, $1,000 is a lot more.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, get you a job at McDonald's. You can make $1,000,
Yeah.
It may take you a little bit, but and you don't have to kill anyone.
You don't have to worry about getting caught and going to prison for the rest of your life.
You do have to worry about smelling like French fries, though.
Is that a bad thing, though? Because McDonald's French fries are pretty good.
They taste good.
Yeah.
They do not smell great.
No.
No, I dated a girl in high school who worked at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it can be rough.
Wasn't a turn on, huh?
No. So she's offering this money. She's even giving them tips. Here's how you do it. On November 14th, Tia, Jonathan, and James were charged with open murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. They also should have been charged with being dumbasses.
I was going to say, big time dumbasses.
But I don't think that's a real charge. It should be.
They probably should start introducing that into the...
Just to be tacked on.
Yeah.
After a hearing on November 23rd, all three were ordered to stand trial. At the hearing, Michigan State Trooper Regina Margosian testified that Tia was indifferent. As they were riding in a patrol car to the state police post, Tia talked about her plans for college. Margosian testified she never asked what happened or even asked about the condition of her parents.
Just self-centered.
But let's talk about what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go to college.
Let's talk about me.
During her interview with Trooper Margosian, Tia initially said she didn't know who would have hurt her parents, but eventually she said she knew Kurtz and Preston planned to kill them. She admitted to making the map and said she allowed Jonathan and James to take it before the attack. However, James said Tia gave it to him. So we've got some conflicting stories already.
Of course.
And very natural, right? We even said in talking about, trying to downplay their role. You mentioned the blame game, whatever you want to call it. It's, yes, I did this, but I didn't do that. And then the other person says, no, she did that too.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to figure out what's true, what's not true. She also confessed that she left her bedroom window unlocked that night, but claimed it was because she wanted to air out the room from the smell of the family dog.
Oh, bringing the family dog in now.
Now she's blaming it on the dog's gives.
Yeah.
Tia spoke about her conflict with her mother because of her relationship with Jonathan and how Mara took her phone away when she saw a text from him. According to the Times-Herald, Michigan State Police Detective Twana Powell testified that Jonathan and James told her they went to the house under Tia's direction. So I think it's pretty clear. Tia wanted this to happen. She wrote a diagram.
Right.
She recruited these two guys.
Dumbasses.
They agreed to it,
Yep.
which caused them to be dumbasses. They carried it out.
She gave them access to get in.
Yep.
Provided them the tools for what they had to have to do what they did.
Yeah, I would say that as well. But then after she's caught, okay, she's admitting to certain things, but she's trying to deflect on others. These two guys are coming out and saying, hey, we did it, but she's the one that set it up. We did it at her direction.
Yeah, we're not going down on this by ourselves.
James said they first discussed the plan in late October. Tia told them to be in a nearby lot at 11 p.m. on November 11th. Tia changed the plan because Jeff was coming to celebrate their sister's engagement. Tia said she did not want him to get hurt, so she would get him to go to the basement with her. And she did, right? We detailed out how she did that. She left knives on her bed, left her window unlocked, and cut her window screen. She gave them the map of the neighborhood and house during a youth group meeting. She also gave them the tip sheet. So we said she was active in her church, right?
Yeah.
And it was at a youth group meeting where she gave the map of the neighborhood and a map of the house to the two guys who were going to kill her parents. According to James, he changed his mind and didn't want to go through with it, but Jonathan threatened him. He claimed he stayed in the hallway at first, but entered the bedroom when he heard an altercation. He said he might have stabbed Paul to free himself.
Might have.
Again, the deflection, right? Yes, I was there, but here's how I'm going to minimize my role. I didn't want to do it. I decided that I wasn't going to go through with it, but I heard something. I went inside. There was a scuffle, and I might have stabbed Paul.
To free himself.
To free myself. That's a far cry from we put our masks on, we walked in, and we tried to kill these two people.
Right.
Jonathan Kurtz admitted that he attacked Mara, but didn't believe he was responsible for Paul's death. So I mean, you do have some things to sort out here. I mean, both of these guys put themselves in the room, but who actually did the stabbing? Who actually killed? Or do you try them both because they were both there and Paul ended up dead?
I mean, they both were in the room stabbing somebody.
Kurtz's trial started on June 14th, 2011. The trial information comes from the Times-Herald. Mara testified about the attack and the events leading up to it. She forbade Tina contacting Jonathan because he had friends involved in drugs. She saw a text from Jonathan where he said he loved Tia, and she told her that people don't fall in love in a week.
Well, I think a lot of kids fall in love pretty quickly.
I was going to say, most people don't. Most adults probably don't fall in love in a week. I don't know when you're talking about 15, 16, 17, even 18-year-olds. They fall in love pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The jury watched Jonathan's police interview where he said Tia planned everything and promised to pay him and James $1,000 to kill her parents. She was supposed to leave the money on her bed. When they entered the house and saw that the money wasn't there, they decided to go through with it because we didn't want to waste the gas to go back home.
Wow. Didn't want to waste the gas.
But don't you have to go back home anyway?
Exactly.
So what are you really wasting?
What a strange statement to make.
This is the problem with trying to dissect the words that come out of a young person's mouth. Half of them don't make all that much sense anyway. And now you've got an 18-year-old who is trying to wriggle out of either the death penalty or life in prison or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's going to say all kinds of things. This one doesn't make any sense at all. So number one, the money that you're supposed to be paid is not even there. But I don't want to waste all this gas,
I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway.
And then probably drive home.
Yeah.
Using the gas that would have taken me home without doing it.
Either way, you got to get home.
Jonathan said he did think about backing out and asked Tia if she was sure. She reportedly said, yes, I am 120% sure. 60% of the time, it works every time.
But think about this. This girl was willing to move forward with this, so confident, over two individuals that have taken care of her all her life, and her brother. All because most likely she thought she was in love with somebody that she was told she could not see.
And they took her cell phone away at some point.
Yeah.
And she's not 100% sure. She's 120% sure that she wants them dead. Jonathan admitted to stabbing Mara, but claimed that it was James who attacked Paul. The jury also viewed the tip sheet that Tia wrote, which was found in a car outside James Preston's home. It was titled Quick Tips. The following list was published by the Times-Herald. Dogs bark. Please try not to hurt them. Parents' room is over all doors in the kitchen. Sliding door leads to fenced-in backyard with 2 exits. The quieter, the better. Stairs creak. The later, the better. The best place to park is the abandoned house behind me. The doors do make noise when you open them. Try to make it look like a break-in gone bad. If you do it earlier, be prepared for them to be in the TV room. If for some reason I'm not out of the house, I will be in my room with my music or TV on loud. The only door that is locked at night is the side door, but I will make sure it is unlocked.
Quick Tips by Tia.
Now, I don't want to give this girl any credit, but there is some good information in there.
Well, they were dumbasses, so they probably needed some help.
But that's pretty damning.
It is.
Right? When you're writing out a list that is basically saying, here's the things you need to either watch out for or make sure you do in order to be able to kill my parent.
Right.
The jury viewed text conversations between the 3 defendants that started on November 9th, 2010. The last message was sent a few hours after the attack. The following texts were published by the Times-Herald. On November 10th, Jonathan texted James, I'm getting Tia mom, you get her dad. After the attack, James texted Jonathan that a friend called to tell him about what happened. Jonathan asked, You didn't tell her, did you? James responded, hell no. Jonathan wrote, good, we need to get out of here. Here spelled Hear. James said, you go ahead, I'm staying. Jonathan asked why. James said, I'm not running. Jonathan said, Kay, then I won't either. Her mom is in critical condition. James wrote. Jonathan said, that's good. Yup, wrote James. Yup. Not yep, yup. I've seen that so many times.
Yeah, pretty popular responses now, I think.
Jonathan said, now we wait. And then James wrote, now we sleep. Jonathan said, easy for you to say. So I'm not a great texter, probably because I like to write in complete sentences. It drives my kids nuts. They write back emoji, one word, something, something. And I'm left to decipher it like some type of Egyptian hieroglyphic, which I'm not equipped to do all the time.
So are these text messages a benefit to Jonathan because he's calling out that he's going to get the mom and James is going to get the dad, and we know the dad dies?
Yeah, I think you could view it that way. Now, obviously, these text messages further implicate both of them, but we said it, right? It's kind of hard to tell who attacked who. Is a jury going to view that one line? I'm getting Tia's mom, you get her dad, as proof that it was really James who attacked Tia's dad.
And you're right. You don't know, because when you actually get there and go into the room, who knows how it went down.
Yes. The two also texted about going shopping with the money Tia was supposed to pay them.
So we see the remorse there.
Sure, because they're just talking about what they're going to buy with their whole $1,000. Prosecutors then presented texts between Tia and Jonathan. Jonathan said, you better figure it out fast. Friday, ready or not, we're doing it. Tia responded, I know, but it creaks everywhere. You better be light on your feet. She asked Jonathan, can you tell me what you're using? Jonathan said no, so Tia replied, but this is kind of important to me, so I know how to set everything up in our house. He responded, I will tell you tomorrow, to which Tia replied, I really hope you are using silenced guns. First of all, where are these 18-year-old kids going to get silencers?
Right.
And or guns, handguns. Prosecutor Mike Windling said in his closing statement, is quoted by the Times-Herald, Mara would fight, and she would fight hard, and she would fight for 5 minutes and take 20 plus stab wounds and continue to fight. The other unexpected challenge was Paul Skinner himself. Wonderful man who would do anything to protect his family and his wife. He truly saved the life of his wife. If he had given up, she couldn't have fought off both individuals. He didn't run. He didn't leave the room. He didn't beg for his life. He fought. When he overcame them, when they finally decided they weren't going to be able to complete their plan, they ran, and he chased them, and he spread the majority of his blood throughout his home. All right. I'm going to tell you, man, that gave me the chills. Because my thought is, yeah, not only is Paul trying to save Mara, but he knows Jeff is in the house. He knows Tia's in the house. He's probably trying to save both of them as well, having no idea that Tia's the one that set this whole thing up.
Yeah. What a strong man.
And Mara as well. You know, the fact that she didn't give up, she fought and took over 20 stab wounds while she was fighting. She was tough as hell as well.
You think she figured it out at one point?
Yeah, I wondered about that, whether either one of them figured it out.
Yeah.
Now, these two, they were wearing masks, so I don't know. Now, if they had seen Jonathan's face, maybe they would have figured it out very quickly.
Or heard his voice.
I don't know how well they knew him. You know, even the smallest step forward can make a big difference in your financial future. When you open a Chime checking account, you're one step closer to a better financial future with no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Making progress has never been easier. I think we've all been in that position where we've had an overdraft. Well, with Chime, you can overdraft up to $200 with no fees. That's amazing. And they have over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. Make progress towards a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/TCAT. That's chime.com/TCATT. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs. MyPay eligibility requirements apply. Credit limits range from $20 to $500. $2 fee applies to get funds instantly. Crime checking account required. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. True Crime All the Time is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, folks, therapy can feel like a big investment, but let's think about the state of your mind. It's just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up really fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save, on average, up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. And you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. I've used the BetterHelp service for years, and I love the fact that, I can connect with a therapist in a comfortable spot in my home on my laptop. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/TCAT today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TCATT. On June 22nd, 2011, Jonathan Kurtz was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. James Preston's trial started on July 6th. Defense attorney Sharon Parrish told the court there was no doubt James stabbed Paul Skinner and conspired to kill Mara, but that didn't mean he was guilty of first-degree murder. James changed his mind and went inside because Jonathan threatened to kill him and his daughter. So this is an interesting tactic.
It is.
Because she's coming right out and saying that James stabbed Paul Skinner and conspired to kill Mara, but he only did it because he was threatened by Jonathan Kurtz. Mara testified again at this trial, this time telling the court that she taught James in middle school and was his track coach. She never had a problem with him and thought he was a good student. James said he didn't stab anyone during his first interview, but he changed his story during the second interview. He said he entered the bedroom when he heard screams and Paul grabbed him around the head. He claimed he might have stabbed Paul 3 times just to get away from him. He told the police that Jonathan recruited him and Jonathan was the one who entered the room first. All right, so let's break some of this down. It's almost as if, Gibby, he is trying to claim self-defense in a way.
It sounds like it.
He's like, I had to stab this guy. He had me in a headlock. Yeah, he had you in a headlock because you're in his freaking bedroom.
Trying to kill him.
Past midnight, trying to kill him and his wife. He's like, I probably stabbed him 3 times just to get away from him.
Yeah.
And then, saying that Jonathan recruited him and Jonathan was the one who entered the room first. Okay, what does that mean? He recruited you, but you said yes. You could have said, no, you're out of your mind. I'm not doing that. And the fact of who enters the room first, what does that have to do with the ultimate outcome if you admit to entering the room yourself? It just doesn't seem as though, in Jonathan and James, we're dealing with a bunch of mental level people here.
No, not at all.
I think we're dealing with probably some normal 18-year-olds of normal intelligence, but they've got no experience with this.
I also have a feeling like they don't really care.
Yeah, I don't know if it's they don't care or if they don't truly understand the gravity of what they've done. Is it the thing that we see with some killers where they think if they can just talk enough that they're going to be able to say something that's going to make the police believe them. I didn't want to do it. Jonathan made me come in the room, or said he was going to kill me, said he was going to kill my child, whatever it is. The jury didn't buy it because on July 15, 2011, James Preston was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Now, Tia's trial started on August 9th. Tia's attorney, John Livesay, argued that Tia wasn't blameless, but she was an easy target for Jonathan Kurtz and James Preston. Okay. Yeah, she's not blameless. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the obvious.
Prosecutor Mike Windling called Tia the mastermind of the whole plan, which I think she was.
Yeah, I mean, she's the one that drew the map and did the quick tips and left the window and the doors unlocked and cut the screen and left weapons. So
yeah, I think in cases like this, you can often say, without the actions of this person, nothing gets started, right? The ball doesn't get rolling, and whoever actually does the killing never happens because they don't get involved because they're not recruited.
yeah, and we kind of had that same conversation on the Patreon episode, right? If the one individual didn't instigate what happened,
then it may never have happened.
yeah,
And just to say, well, she wasn't blameless.
no shit, Sherlock. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if feel for is the right word. I think sometimes I do understand what these defense attorneys are up against.
Sure, tough.
Number one, sometimes their clients are idiots,
Right.
and their clients don't do them any favors with, their police interviews and things like that. They're trying their best, but when you got nothing to work with, it's tough.
Yeah. How can I dial this back somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tia's police interview was played for the jury. She told State Trooper Regina Margosian that she knew about the plan to kill her parents, saying, James Preston and Kurtz told me that this weekend they were going to come over and get rid of my parents. According to the Times-Herald, Tia claimed the map was just for myself. I wasn't really mapping it out for anybody. I would never, ever try to do anything like that.
I kind of made the map, but I didn't really want to share the map, is what she's trying to say.
I had lived there for a long time, but I thought I needed a map to make sure that I could navigate around my my own neighborhood.
Yeah, that's why I drew the arrows in and everything to get me right where I needed to be.
Because I wasn't sure which house was mine.
Yeah.
See, again, when you break it down, it just sounds comical. It makes no sense. Now, she later admitted that all three of them had been talking about the attack. On August 16, 2011, Tia Skinner was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. On September 16th, all three defendants were sentenced to life in prison without parole. And that doesn't surprise me one bit. You have one person in Tia who really was kind of the mastermind, the instigator. And then you had two individuals who were willing to kill for money.
Yeah. Little money.
Very little money. And during their attack, their planned attack, a man did die.
Yeah. The attack that they weren't sure if they wanted to go ahead and do, but they said
we'd waste so much gas going home.
Yeah.
Tia read a statement in court describing how her parents were wonderful and raised her well. She said, per the Times-Herald, I never wanted my parents dead. I said something to a guy. He took what I said literally. He carried out the act.
But you didn't do anything to stop it, did you?
I don't believe that at all. Not what you just said. I don't believe what she said at all.
No, I don't either.
I said something to a guy. He took what I said literally. He carried out the act. If that is the truth, then why would you draw the map? Why would you send the text message that says, I'll do this, I'll do that? Why would you write the quick tips? Why would you cut your screen, leave your window unlocked, leave a door unlocked, put knives in your bedroom? That, again, I think some people think they're smart, but when they talk, it proves them wrong.
Yes, for sure.
Mara addressed all three defendants, saying, our screams and cries for help went unanswered. You heard them and chose not to stop. Mara then addressed Tia As quoted by WXYZ, I thought I knew you, but I guess I never really knew you at all. And that's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking big time, right? And she heard Tia say, you guys were the best parents ever. Oh, we were so good that you wanted us dead, huh?
But I never wanted you dead.
Yeah, well, you sure didn't have a hard time putting that quick tip together.
And I do really think it would be heartbreaking. This is a couple who took in their niece and nephew, raised them, like you said, Gibbs, Tia, for 14 years. And that's a long time to get to know someone. And when they do something that is so against what you know them to be, and that something turns out to be trying to kill you,
yeah,
that would be devastating.
It would be.
On top of, losing your husband and getting attacked yourself, there's another kind of victimization. And it's this betrayal by this girl who you helped raise for a very long time and you thought was your daughter. Jonathan Kurtz apologized and then told the judge, on behalf of everyone you put away for life, fuck you.
He's a man, isn't he?
Yeah, WXYZ didn't put in the expletive, but I'm assuming that's what it was.
Yeah, trying to be the man, but he doesn't look like the man when he says things like that.
Well, it's very strange to apologize and then tell the judge to go F himself.
Yeah, because he put me away for life. Well, you know what? You took a life.
James Preston also made a statement. According to the Times-Herald, James told the court, I'm not completely innocent. I was there and I did stab Mr. Skinner, but he said he did not inflict the fatal wounds. This stuff is killing me. She's not totally blameless. I'm not completely innocent. You're nowhere near completely innocent.
Right.
You're actually completely guilty. And you just admitted that you stabbed Mr. Skinner, but you're trying to say that you didn't inflict the fatal wounds. But would that even matter? You were there, you participated, and someone died.
And then you were talking about how you're going to spend that money later that night.
In July 2012, Tia spoke with the Times-Herald from the Women's Huron Valley Correctional Facility and expressed regret. She said that she had second thoughts on the night of the murder, saying, never would I have thought that these two boys would have gone against what I said. I just wonder how everything could have been flipped upside down so quick. And I never would have thought I'd be the one to orchestrate something to hurt my family, because my family is people I'd protect.
Strange statement to make.
It is, because I think she's going back to, yes, I said something about it and these guys just took it and ran with it, but I didn't want it to happen. And I just think the truth is so far from that, that every time she says something like this, it just makes her look idiotic, because the facts and everything that's known in the case fly directly in the face of what she keeps saying.
And if she didn't want it to happen, didn't she have plenty of opportunity to stop it? Don't put the knives there. Don't unlock the doors, the window. If you're really concerned, maybe you call the police.
Maybe you tell your parents.
Tell your parents.
Hey, we got to get out of here because these guys are
coming for you.
They're coming for you. We need to get out of here. Let's call the police. Tell them what happened. No, she didn't do any of that.
No. She ran up and back down the stairs, probably unlocking things.
Yep. She specifically got her brother down into the basement and then left 2 or 3 times to make sure that whatever needed to be done got done before these two guys got there. I mean, the facts are there. So she can say all she wants about how, I never wanted this to happen, or these guys took it the wrong way. I just don't believe any of it. She talked about how she heard her father screaming that night, saying, it sounded awful to me. It literally made my heart break in two to hear my dad like that. I think it was just awful. I just had a bad temper and I took it out on someone who didn't deserve it. Somebody who looked after me and took care of me.
Well, I hope she hears that scream every night. Because you know who's probably hearing that scream every night? Mara, for sure. And possibly Jeff too. I don't know how much he heard thumping noises,
But here, and this is in the same thing. It almost sounds like she's admitting to what she did here.
Yeah.
So, in one breath, she's trying to minimize, and then she's kind of, copping to it. She said she hadn't heard from her mother or anyone else in her family, adding, "It's been rough. It's hard losing your whole family in a blink of an eye. It's tough because that's my family. They're supposed to stay by you through thick and thin." This girl is delusional.
She is.
I'm telling you, I love my kids more than anything in the world. But if they try to kill me, I don't know how many ramen noodles I'm putting on their account.
Yeah.
I really don't.
How about if she thought about what she just said? When things are tough, you don't go kill your family.
No, I get you, but I don't think she's ever thought about any of these things that she's saying. If she did, she'd realize how ludicrous they make her sound.
From everything that I've seen, it sounds like and seems like all she does think about is herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some narcissism there for sure.
Yeah.
Tia told the Times-Herald that she believed 20 years was an appropriate sentence. At the time of her interview, she was appealing on the grounds of being interviewed as a minor without parental consent and ineffective counsel.
So she's saying, I had my dad killed and had my mom injured to the point where she almost died, so they couldn't be with me when I was being interviewed. So I should be let out of prison a little bit early.
Yeah, like most of the people we talk about, she's doing anything she can do to try to, lower her sentence. She's going to go ineffective counsel. Almost everybody does that, it seems like. And she was 17 years old, but the circumstances being what they were, I don't know who could have given parental consent at the time she was being interviewed. I don't know. I mean, that will be up to an appeals court. On July 11, 2013, Tia Skinner was resentenced to life without parole. She returned to court after the Supreme Court ruling against automatic life without parole for minors convicted of first-degree murder. And that has come up in a lot of the cases we've done where minors were sentenced to life without parole.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that she was resentenced to the exact same thing, because all the Supreme Court ruled was that it shouldn't be automatic.
Right.
So, they had to go back and resentence, look at the facts of the case. Well, they did that and they gave her the exact same sentence.
Yeah, they said, that was the correct thing to do.
Judge Daniel Kelly told Tia, "Justice demands that you serve not 1 day less." Her attorney argued that she had a clean record and deserved a chance to be released from prison 1 day. Tia said in court, "I am the coward that everyone says I am." Okay. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Well, it's about her, so that's why she says it.
Because everything's about her.
Right.
Tia was resentenced again in September 2014. According to the Times-Herald, this was done because the state legislature established procedures that had to be followed for juvenile sentencing, and the procedures were approved after the 2013 resentencing. During the 3-day hearing, Tia's attorneys argued that she had a troubled childhood. Mara told the Times-Herald that she spent hours testifying against the allegations made by the defense. In August 2015, the Michigan Court of Appeals ordered a fourth sentencing for Tia, this time by a jury. The court ruled that prosecutors must prove to a jury that the crime reflects irreparable corruption. The court opinion stated that in order to sentence a juvenile to life without parole, a prosecutor must file a motion and findings had to be made about the defendant's immaturity, home environment, and contact with lawyers, police, and prosecutors. However, in 2017, the Supreme Court ruled that judges could still sentence minors to life without parole. So in November 2018, the Court of Appeals upheld her sentence. And I'm all for that. I'm fine with that. What I really feel bad about is the fact that Mara had to go through all of the things that she had to go through.
Right.
It sounds like, Tia's defense attorneys dragged her through the mud and said all kinds of nasty things about her in the way that she raised Tia and all that. Again, how many times do we hear a victim being victimized again by the system? And I think that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right?
It's very sad.
She had to go through that. Her son had to hear all this, and her 2 other kids had to hear it also.
But I'm sure that they probably did, or at least could have testified about what life was like in the home.
Absolutely.
Because there was 4 of them.
Right.
In March 2019, Mara McCalman, who had remarried, spoke at the Port Huron Municipal Office Center about the trauma she went through. She moved in with her brother for 6 months and often feared that someone was trying to break into the house. She said, per the Times Herald, "I honestly never dealt with any mental issues, anything like that. My life was pretty normal. I never had any anxiety, never had any depression. After this, I found myself hypervigilant. I always thought someone was going to come and get me." And I can absolutely see why someone like Mara would go through what she went through, right? You're going to struggle with anxiety and depression, most likely after experiencing that type of trauma. I mean, you're telling me you're not going to lie in bed and have a hard time going to sleep because there's a fear that somebody's going to bust in and attack you? I'm sure there would be.
Well, I think there would be for sure.
In 2013, Mara founded P.S. You're My Hero, a nonprofit organization that hosts an annual run walk and has raised money to remodel the St. Clair County Victims' Rights Office. Tia Skinner, Jonathan Kurtz, and James Preston are still incarcerated in Michigan. Gibbs, as we wrap this one up, all 3 of them were young. And it sounds to me like all 3 had some potential. But now they will most likely die in prison. Over what? The fact that Tia's parents didn't want her to see this Jonathan kid, the fact that they took away her cell phone for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then these 2 kids are going to come in for $1,000 and kill 2 people. Hey, these are the types of cases that really shock me.
Yeah. Now they're all 3 sitting in prison, staring at the ceiling, probably asking themselves, why did I do that?
How did I get here?
Right.
How did things go so terribly wrong? And Tia was not the one who attacked her parents, but she was the one who made the plan to end the lives of these 2 people who loved her and cared about her more than anyone, or as much as anyone.
Yeah.
It does sound to me like, from the research and some of the stuff we talked about in the beginning, Tia and her brother were their kids as much as their own biological children.
Yeah.
So I go back to her being dragged through the mud about being a bad mom and this trauma and all that. I just find it very hard to believe. But a scary, scary case.
Very scary.
When you think about the fact that not a stranger, not someone you've just met, your daughter, whom you adopted, you've been raising for 14 years, can make that type of decision basically on a whim for something so small that you both need to die.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. But that's it for our episode on Tia Skinner. We got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Yes, hear them.
Hello, Fergalicious and the Gibmeister. This is Neve from Sweden, but Irish. I found you guys back in, I think it was March or April, and I binged TCAT, and I got so depressed about when I was finished. I'm not an unsolved girl, but I just got so desperate and I had to, so I'm binging from the start. And I have to say that Gibbs, when he was on the pain meds after his hernia, I think it was episode 70 or something, it was absolutely hysterical. It was so funny. It had me cracking up the other day in work. I'm a dog groomer, have my own company, also have a brown Labrador. I know Fergie yours passed away recently. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, love you guys. Yous are the best. And come to Sweden soon and preferably do a Swedish unsolved or normal. Bye. Oh no. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Did she call you Fergalicious?
She did. And I'm digging it.
You were.
I mean, it's kind of like those sweatpants I have with the glitter that says Fergalicious on the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen them.
I know. It's somewhat scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
But I wear them for you. But I loved her accent. I'm a sucker for an Irish accent.
I know you are.
Yes, I'm a long-time fan of your show. But here lately, you've been playing the same commercial 5 times in a row, at least 4 times in a row, and that's Quest and Trust or whatever. I don't know why you've got to play those things so many times in a row. I'm going to have to find another channel just play it 1 time, not 5 times. Okay, thank you very much.
So I got a kick out of that one, Gibbs, and I had to play it because, first of all, I have no idea what she's talking about.
No.
I don't know what Quest is. I don't know what Trust is. And never would you hear the same commercial five times in a row. So I wasn't sure what she was talking about. And then the only thing that popped into my head was maybe she's watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, because we did put some episodes out on YouTube to try to get people to find the show, hoping that they would then come over and, get on a podcast app or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know how YouTube is. Who knows what ads they're going to.
Can't control that.
No, you can't control what ads they put on there. So maybe that's what she's talking about. If someone is hearing on an actual podcast app the same ad 5 times in a row, please reach out to me and let me know, because that should never happen. All right, buddy. We had no mailbag.
No.
But we did have a lot of people at CrimeCon drop stuff off to us.
We did, man.
Hats, chocolates, Twizzlers, all kinds of stuff.
Loved it.
Yeah. And I didn't write down everybody's names, and my memory is horrible. So I hate that I can't give everyone a shout out, but you know who you are.
Yeah. I know you really like those sporty boxers, T-cap boxers that someone dropped you off.
Yeah. That said Fergalicious on the back. Yeah. Anything with Fergalicious and glitter, I'm all in.
Just think of the old Juicy Couture.
Yeah. It's like Juicy.
Yeah. Juicy. But instead it says
Fergalicious.
Yeah. Now go throw up and come back.
All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
How did the internet go from this?
You could actually find what you were looking for right away, bang,
to this?
I feel like I'm in hell.
Spoiler alert, it was not an accident. I'm Cory Doctorow, host of Who Broke the Internet from CBC's Understood. In this 4-part series, I'm going to tell you why the internet sucks now, whose fault it is, and my plan to fix it. Find Who Broke the Internet on whatever terrible app you get your podcasts.